You need tight end help heading into your championship, hopefully, or third place game at least to place. He has a few tight ends that can help you in Week 16. The first guy is Dawson Knox of the Buffalo Bills. I recommended him last week, and he had a decent game, especially what tight ends do this season. 2 catches, 36 yards, and a touchdown. And he's becoming more of a red zone threat for Josh Allen and this lethal Buffalo Bill offense. And he's out there in 98% of leagues. And Knox, he's had double-digit fantasy points now in 2 out of his last 3 games. And in Week 16 at New England, I think he could have another decent game in a big divisional matchup, even though the Bills clinched. They want to make a statement and win this ball game as well. So Dawson Knox, he's the first recommended tight end. The second one is Tyler Higbee of the Los Angeles Rams. Higbee had a big ball game for once yesterday versus the New York Jets, and he had 4 catches, 67 yards, and a touchdown. Higbee, he hasn't been good this season for the most part, but he does have also, like Knox, 2 out of his last 3 games, double-digit fantasy points. In Week 16, he's at Seattle, where he had a mediocre fantasy game with 9 fantasy points in Week 10 versus him for 3 catches, 60 yards. And Higbee, he's available in 50% of fantasy leagues. He's starting to play a little better, like I said, as the weeks go on. But if you don't have any other options, I guess he's worth a head, Higbee. I'm not high on him that much. But like I said, if you could use a tight end, he's not that horrible of a get here in Week 16. The next guy is Jordan Akins of the Houston Texans. Akins, he's had a couple good games this season, but he just hasn't been consistent. But once again, he had a good game yesterday. 5 catches, 50 yards versus Indianapolis. In PPR, that's pretty solid to get 10 points from a tight end. And now here in Week 16, he's got a better matchup than Indy, which was a tough one, versus Cincinnati that gives up the second most fantasy points to tight ends. So I think Akins, he could get 40 or 50 yards in this one and find the end zone. This Houston team's a pass-first team. We saw David Johnson even get 10 catches out of the backfield. So Deshaun Watson and that offense, they throw first, pass first, and he's looking and spreading the ball around to everybody. So Jordan Akins, not a bad option to get on waivers. The next guy is Jordan Reed of the San Francisco 49ers. There's rumblings George Kittle will come back this season, but now with them officially eliminated from playoff berth, I think Jordan Reed will be the starter the rest of the way for this 49er team. And yesterday he did what I expected. I said he would get a touchdown and possibly 20 or 30 yards in this one. And versus Dallas, he had 2 catches, 18 yards, and a touchdown, which was good for 9.8 fantasy points in PPR leagues. I like Reed a lot. He's an athletic tight end. He makes some plays, and this week he's got a matchup versus Arizona where I think he could exploit them as well. We saw Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert have 2 solid games versus him, so I think Jordan Reed has a good one next week, and he's definitely worth an add. Also, it's a Saturday game. And the 5th and final tight end I would add this week is Jacob Hollister of the Seattle Seahawks. Hollister, he found the end zone yesterday, which was good to see, versus the Washington football team for the Seahawks. Hollister, he's available in 99% of fantasy leagues. He had the 2 catches for 17 yards and a touchdown. And next week, he's got a good matchup versus the Los Angeles Rams, where Hollister, I think he could find some seams and get open and make a few plays. And we saw last season when they had a bunch of injuries at tight end Seattle, Hollister, he had a couple big ball games. And I think he could be a sneaky play this week, and he's definitely worth an add. So that's a few tight ends I would add on waivers here heading into Week 16.